Downloading light. Live event. Online channeling for a live audience. Lucy Mariani.
If there's a message from the divine, some guidance about where I should be focusing my energy, then that would be amazing.
The first thing they're showing me is almost you bringing it in. So while there might be different ideas or directions that you feel that you're headed in, you're going to have time, first of all, to do what you need to do. So you don't need to get it all done, by the end of 2022. Jody, the way they show me is when you come into your center and really go quiet and tune in with what feels right for you first. The earth itself feels like it's such an open book for the taking, in terms of, shall we say, what it wants to offer you. And you are being guided. I don't know what this means, Jody, and I'm not going to interpret it yet, but I feel like it's almost like you have a shining star that's guiding you. So whether that's star family or something else, and that's indicative of that. The other thing that's coming through is that it's a bit like having a program inside that knows what this soul has come here to deliver on. And because that program knows, it's like you can let your mind rest. The mind is going to be involved in terms of, shall we say, other types of planning and solution forming as you go. So it's working in tandem, knowing that, okay, I inherently already know things and follow that direction. And yet I also know that I'm not only am I looked after by this guiding star, but then I have this mental capacity to be able to problem solve, integrate, and innovate in the ways that you're going to need. Are you following that so far?
Yeah, I am. It's making a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, great. For me, it feels very exciting what you're about to embark on. And to the point that there feels like there's so much excitement, there's not really any room for kind of overthinking or even going down the path of fear. It really is excitement that's around you and that's yours. The recognition of you knowing, okay, it's time now. Come back to the excitement of it, because then that ball rolls, the momentum's there, and you just seem to, like, I don't know, you just roll a bit like a snowball. You get bigger and bigger and bigger, but in a really positive way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does anyone else feel the excitement around Jody? It's yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah. I've just actually finished up from my job, and I decided that I'm taking a small career break to work out, I guess, my next direction and what's going to take me to the next place. So what you're saying is resonating massively.
Yeah, wonderful. The timing feels so right. And I think this is the thing, everyone, with whatever we're doing, we combine to what's going on out in the outside world, that sort of, 3D world. And I keep coming across instances with clients where it's like, don't worry about what's going on out there. Like you've got your own mission, you've got your own plans. Stay on track with those, because in fact, the more that we can also stay on track with our plans and deliver what we're here to do, it's like we gently blow away the debris and, shall we say, some of the denseness and the negativity, the fear even that's out there. We keep showing the new ways. We keep being those guiding lights.
Thank you. That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Jens.
I had a feeling you were going to select me then. I was sitting there going, she's going to select me.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, thank you. I guess my question would be very similar to Jody. I'm going through a bit of a career change. My role's kind of lost a bit of funding. So, I guess I'm excited about what's to come. I'm not kind of, feeling nervous or anything. I'm kind of, open to whatever is coming.
Yes.
But yeah, just if there's any kind of guidance or anything that's coming through in regards to that.
The way they show me, and I'm wondering that this is perhaps why you're, not nervous and understanding why it's happening. It's almost as if there's a platform and it's sort of dropping down and you're rising up. And because in that sense, Jens, you're being invited to go another level within your career. that you're ready to take on something that's, again, more of a challenge in a different way, and to build on the existing sort of skills and experience that you've already been doing. There's a level of what I want to say is professional maturity, not because you weren't mature before, but in terms of maturity of you really understanding the role that you have had, and then how that can be applied in a different way. Like say when you're working, doing what I call as direct service work, and yet then you might go into another aspect where maybe you don't do as much direct service work, or you might do more planning. It's definitely advancing, and it's okay that the role that you've come and even the funding has shifted. There and changes that need to happen, I want to say, for the people even that you were currently working for or have been working for, even those clients or customers, people, they need something different. And so this is the other thing, that sometimes the universe shakes up the existing systems, knowing that if a group of people or a cohort needs something else, and in a sense they're asking for that, then that will be manifested, even if it comes through like, well, there's your funding cut, but hello, now we're going to offer this program instead. For instance, maybe it wasn't feasible to work with just individuals, but groups is good. And with the benefit of groups is also those people connecting with each other and getting other social connections and peer support. Just as an example, by the way, metaphorically speaking, nothing about this is negative, but for you personally, I do see you exploring roles that are different to what you currently do, are going to expect something more of you and allow you to shine in another way now. Because you're good with people, I'm shown, but you're also good at being organized, at being efficient around things like planning, possibly even the admin stuff. Not everybody is. So it's a bit like they're getting you ready to do this to later on go and do more again. Yeah.
Great. It's perfect, because what I've been doing at the moment and most recently is a real blended role. So it's been the direct service to the clients, but then it's also been like a part management role as well. So trying to manage that at times can be a little bit tricky. What you said definitely does resonate, because, I feel that that's kind of where I'm stepping into, is more of less of a direct service role and more into something else. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, sounds
Exciting.
good. Yeah,
Cool.
my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Lynette. Hey, how are you? Lovely to see you again.
Yes. I didn't think I'd get picked, so I don't know.
You're okay.
So at the moment I'm going through IVF.
Yes.
So still working really hard on settling the mind and energy and manifesting and affirmations. I still feel there is, a bit of a blockage there. I am still trying to practice, but trying to make it a little bit more natural, and when I manifest, visualize and stuff, where I'm still finding it hard to do for myself. For other people, I totally can. So maybe a little bit more guidance, or if anything else has come up in terms of my journey or path, and in specifically with fertility.
The first thing they show me is the womb. I'm going to sound a bit of a hippie when I say this, but it's this sense of placing your hands on your womb and really loving that part of you, and loving, I want to call it the womanliness of yourself, or the fact that you are a woman, or even that potentiality that you have. Okay. And it's that sense of, thank you. It's like considering it's a magic space. And I'm going to say this is guidance for any woman out there who is wanting to fall pregnant or fall pregnant again. I don't think you're probably the only one here, Lynette. I've had a lot of women of late, even clients, coming to me with similar sorts of questions or sometimes concerns. And so the thing is to picture that whole womb, or even your tummy, as being this beautiful space of, it's almost like glittery light, and it's this container of joy. And what happens is it's like connecting fully to the body and the physical self, because sometimes the way they're showing me is that as women, we can go into that space of the mind, mental realm around getting pregnant, will I, won't I, this, that, what has happened in the past, etc. And what I've heard and what I've read and what that doctor told me and all of those things. And so it's a lot of it's up here. And so the mind keeps, sort of, shall we say, grasping those thoughts, those ideas. And yet Source is like, it's almost like get out of the head, come back down, put your hand on your tummy. And remember, this is like your magic center. You're given this, it's a gift. I do see a baby with you. Perhaps I said that to you in the session because I have a lot of clients. It's going to happen. And so in that regard, it's like, come back to your knowingness of self and connecting with yourself and your physicality to remember the magic of who you are. It doesn't matter how many women pop out a baby every minute across the world. Every baby's a miracle. I believe that every woman is, in that sense, is magical, as a lot of the Indigenous peoples have always regarded women as magical in that way. And so we've probably lost sight of that with the way that we live and, also with, changes of roles to women. Before we were still in, for so long, not really permitted to work or study, etc., and just told we were, making babies. And yeah, it's almost like we need to tap into still some of that part of ourselves that maybe we've lost when, being more career focused. Come back to you and sit quietly. I don't know if you feel it now, but feel that energy around you and within you. And the other thing I'd say to you, Lynette, too, is that there is a little soul around. I feel the gender of this soul as well. And you can connect with that. And again, this is for anybody. Sometimes you might feel or sense that there is a soul around. You're not going crazy. You usually are picking up on that. Talk to that soul. Start having a dialogue with the soul of, yeah, we're ready. We really want you to come into our lives, and invite it. Because again, every time you go to that space of fear, it's almost like sending a mixed message. Oh, we want you. Oh, no, we don't. Oh, we know we don't. I'm not too sure if we could, or maybe we can't. It's like sometimes it's better to let go, I want to say, of what seems like limited practicalities. Come back to all of the unlimited potential. Does that help? And please be real with me, because I know this is a big one.
Yeah. No, it's quite weird. The last month or two, I have felt something around. It's super weird. And I thought maybe it could have been someone that has passed or something, but I'm just not sure. But I have felt or seen things in the corner of my eye, and I'm like, oh, am my eyes playing up? I've got new glasses, like what? So maybe, yeah, I think after our session as well, just what I believe with manifesting, speaking to, my future baby or my soul that's up there, I think something's around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful, because as I said, we can doubt ourselves, or we can wonder, and that's another common thing that happens with most of us. If we see spirits, or we're awakening certain ways, or even around souls of children around us, we often feel it's at the corner of the eye. We don't quite see, and we don't always see with what I like to say are these eyes. I always say to my daughter, because she'll ask me, what can I see? And I say, well, it's not with these eyes, it's with this one, but we do get that sense. And I think, Lynette, that it's really interesting that you have been picking up on that energy, you have been feeling, and because if anything, may that be a reminder from that soul that it's also getting ready, it's getting closer. So when the soul starts coming around like that, let yourself, I want to say, relax into that knowledge, not all of the scientific knowledge or the other things that you might be focusing on. Yeah, wonderful. Good one. All right, thank you. Thanks for asking question too, Lynette. Appreciate it. Jessica.
Yeah, thank you. And a bit the same, I hadn't actually processed a question, but I love from everything you've already shared, I'm taking messages from that. I'm like, oh, that's relevant. I can take note of that.
Good.
So yeah, I guess similarly to some others, I'm really intrigued just what maybe comes through. similar, lots of similarities with some of the other women here, which I'm sure is no surprise, but also not necessarily feeling fear. Like as Jen said, it's like I have trust that whatever is coming is perfect, but there's still, I guess, that humanness in us that likes to know what's going on.
Yeah, there's some movement. It feels like your world is turning around with some change, but not in a way that it feels fast and being knocked over. It feels like there is time for you to adjust. It's like, oh, and you're turning around with it. And again, as I said, it's not like it's spinning around to knock you off your feet, to get you to look more closely, perhaps what you need to be doing or where you're headed. It feels more like a sense that the plates are shifting, as if they were sort of geological plates. They're shifting so you can jump from one to another. And not even because the one you're going to jump from is unstable, but it feels like the one that you're going to jump to holds more promise of fulfilling you in ways that you are currently more aligned with. So sometimes we may be doing a role, or we may be doing a particular business that we're offering, or even a service. We can be offering a particular service, and yet that worked before, and it might still work, and yet the universe is sort of like, oh, but we'd like you to do this. And it feels like that with you, Jessica. It doesn't feel, again, like Jen's, it doesn't feel negative. You need to get out there. They show me that. It's almost like standing forward from the crowd and talking instead of just holding back and maybe mumbling with the ones in the background and never mumble. It's like, no, you need to stand forward. Your voice needs to be heard. There are things that you seem to understand and I want to say have knowledge on, and perhaps even direction forward. It's like providing direction forward on these matters. And that does need to be heard. Sometimes you could say, if we don't sometimes speak up around these things, we're almost doing a disservice, because you might be the only one that has been able to observe all the workings to know that, right, this now needs to happen, or this has to happen in this way, or this is the direction moving forward for even, dare I say, a particular industry or an initiative. It needs to be carried forward. Now, you might be thinking, well, I didn't really come here to be the leader and to lead everyone forward. You don't need to take on all that responsibility, but you need to contribute to this. You need to be a part of it. And I see some nodding, so I'm curious to see what's going on for you when that comes through.
I've done lots of work over the last couple of years, and it is kind of pulling it all together. And I was nodding with the fact, like, you literally are using words that I'm thinking of, like the promise of being more aligned. Like, that is literally how I'm explaining it. I'm a school teacher, and being in the system, just like it's like I'm selling my soul. Like, I'm not supporting people for their individuality. And so other things that I've been working with do that more. So how can I share that more to be supporting people with what they need? And I had hoped I could do it within the system, but I can't. So creating something else. And I hear this all the time, but I actually have to do something, like get out there. As you said, I have all of this, and it is like the little mouse, like, oh, I'm doing this if you're interested, but okay, you're not, maybe you're not. And I'm kind of talking myself out of it, or even my language, like, oh, I'm doing this, but I know it's not for everyone, where it's like, actually, I don't even need to include that part. I'm doing this, and it's amazing. Yes. And allow people that are drawn to that to come to that. So it does need, I've got goosebumps. So thank you.
That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And again, because we do know that most of the times, a lot of things that we're all doing, we are in niches, or we're servicing a niche. And the thing that you may find that you do, Jessica, is that you might go away from, shall we say, education sector, let's call it, and yet it feels like to do your own thing, and you may package some of that up to support the education sector in the future. So it's okay sometimes to go out, if the parameters at the moment are feeling a bit tight, to go out and do it, because there's shifts in the education sector, everybody. I will give you the heads up on that. I've seen it a number of times. And again, we need to trust that all of these children coming through with this beautiful elevated consciousness, they're also bursting forth, needing and requiring something more. So that, I'll call it system, also needs to have, a bit of a rejig and open up and find space for how children are now and what they need. So, stay on track with your direction in this. But don't be surprised if you do almost seem to go, I don't want to say go back in education. I don't feel like you go back in, but I feel like you still somehow connect with it and perhaps work with it or service it, but you don't seem to be within, the building itself, if I was to call it that.
Yeah. Oh, and I've just in the last few days, I have almost had that, awareness of like, it's, I've thought I had to do it within, but actually I almost feel like it's more recognized or appreciated or valued if I'm then providing that to them. Like it's, as opposed to doing it for nothing within, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So it's giving myself more value. Yeah.
Good on you. Yay. I say that as a parent, but I also say it as just knowing what these children need. The more that people can start to meet those needs in the ways that they're already aware of, the better. It's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you, Jessica. Thanks for being part of that change that you're going to be a part of. It's great. Karen.
Dun, dun.
Hello.
Hi. Hi. Well, I mean, I'm happy to just receive some guidance, and I have just decided, I'm loving like the kind of synchronicity around patience and worth, and like that all, that you're reflecting to all the women, and that's so lovely to see. I've just decided to walk away from a business partnership, which is quite a tough decision.
Yeah.
And I also have like debts that I need to deal with. And I'm just happy to get the direct line to the divine and see what they've got to say, to be honest.
Let's check in. The way they show me you, Karen, is like walking out of, I'll call it the workspace, with a couple of old, those old school, you're probably too young, but 70s brown suitcases. It's like you're holding those and they feel a bit heavy. And there's a heaviness in a way of, shall we say, walking out of this space. And yet they also show me, though, that the sun, it's like Source is saying, but the sun is shining and, the trees have beautiful green leaves. The imagery is this sense of you're not walking into doom and gloom, even if there's a heaviness with the change that's happening at the moment. What they do show me, though, it's like you seem to, it's not even like you get home. Again, it's a metaphor, it's a vision. You don't even seem to get home. It's almost like, well, I've got to walk through the park and the path for a while before I get home with my suitcases. But they show me you, before you even get home, going, oh, wait a minute, I need to see what's in this suitcase again. It's like you pop one open and you look inside it, and who you are on your own and your own capabilities, your own set of skills and your own tools, I want to call it. And it's almost like picking some of them up and going, oh, I forgot I had that one. What's that again? And when you do this, Karen, it allows you to slowly, not do anything yet, but open up to the universe to know that there is something else, because there is. And I get a big nod like, there is something else is coming. Now, it might not be for a few months. That's what I'm shown. Yet there seems to be something else that's coming that you do really suit. I get a sense that it's some form of, I'm going to call it leadership. And I get a sense that it's also within an establishment or a workplace that already exists. It's not a solo venture. Yet there seems to be a lot of freedom and respect for who you are and what you can bring to the role. Like you've got a beautiful strength and a presence, and you're allowed to be that. In fact, that's what they want. They want some direction. And you know what? No disrespect, but they need it. It's like some people have got some good ideas and stuff, and some flit around a little bit, but there's no solid anchor in there going, right, let's pull this all together. Let's make this happen. Let's do this. And again, it feels like it's working in a space of services to others, but you seem to be, it feels like some sort of manager or organizer sits in this space and makes decisions. But I get a sense you're almost there for like a check sheet, ticking off boxes about who's getting funding this year. That's what it feels like. Now, it might not be exactly that, but it seems this sense of you having a say in what's going to be out in the community and what's beneficial. Yeah. And it's not just you deciding, but I do get a sense you have a lot of sway. Yeah. So the debts, they're there, but they do reduce. And again, I get a sense that this role is, I feel like it's leadership role. You're getting paid, some decent money. You are going to be taken care of. The venture that you were in, they show me there were some inflexibilities going on that weren't going to allow you to execute and deliver on things perhaps the way you otherwise would have. Source has plans for you to be able to be who you are and do what you do, to use your skills, to use what I even want to say is your personality type to make a difference. And where you were, it's like you were held back. It's a little bit like the universe saying, well, okay, we'll release her out of that cage. We don't want her caged. We needed to go out and make a difference. So we'll open something else up for you. And that's what I feel is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My thing is that I just had such a connection to the space that we were running. So it's like walking away from the business partnership is one thing, but walking away from that land or that space feels like, difficult to switch off, still envisioning what could be happening there. But I also just trust,
Yeah. Yeah. The space, look, the space may be dormant for a little while, I'm shown.
Yeah.
But even that, we don't always know why and how things work, but it may be something that you come back or tap into, but in a different capacity, and I want to say well-resourced. And I don't just mean financially, I mean with people, with other things. Yeah, grieve it, but it may be a temporary grief and not a permanent situation.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where I say sometimes it's like, it is literally, I watch this space. Excuse the pun. It's not finished. It's not getting knocked down. The show's not over. But the time and a few cogs aren't really aligning it for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My pleasure.
Thank you. If it doesn't make me feel free, then I'm not going to do it. Yeah.
That's it. And you need to be free.
Then I can be present. I can be in my truth instead of being in conflict and feeling out of alignment. I can't choose that.
Yeah. That makes sense. All right, Karen.
Thank you.
Go you. You're a force to be reckoned with, Yeah, not stopping. Kiralee, what's your question?
I didn't have a specific question in mind. Is that okay to just...
Yeah, that's fine. You can, yep, we can see what comes through. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, let's do that. I feel like you're going to discover the beauty of space. It feels a tiny little bit like what just came through for Michelle, but the way I'm shown, it's almost like, parting the reeds of a lake and looking through them, and then just seeing this whole beautiful sort of horizon and all of this space. And space is good. And so even if you need to, Kiralee, I want to say this to you, I don't know where you live, but even if you need to go somewhere where there is a big horizon, which is one of the reasons why I love being near the ocean even. It's like you need to see some big sky. You need to see some big space, because when you do that, I want to say certain weights that have even been around, in a sense, on the chest and other pressures, but it feels mostly sort of crushing a bit on the chest. It's almost like they get a chance to be blown away and lessened just even by being more in the wind. It's like the wind just blows it away. You breathe in, you exhale, and you could even intentionally, shall we say, let go of what it is that you've been feeling and the pressures perhaps that you've been carrying, to remember that, again, for you, everything is actually okay. That's what they show me. Sometimes there is a sense of urgency or a sense of maybe it not, or maybe things not happening fast enough, or still having a lot to do, and that sort of narrative's going on. And yet Soul shows me, looking at that big sky, breathing in, it's you come back to the truth of, wait a minute, if I really ground in me right now, for my feet even on the ground, and took a proper, shall we say, assessment of where I'm at, what's currently happening in life. Okay, there's a few things that need a little bit of tidying up, is what they show me. But overall, you're doing well, and it feels like it's time for you to acknowledge that, though, instead of focusing on what's next or what hasn't been done. It's about focusing and, giving yourself that acknowledgement of where you're at, and even, I want to say, how far you've come.
Yeah, that's resonating a lot. I'm very hard on myself, and
Yeah.
I often don't take time to pause, even when I have faced a lot of change and moved through it with grace. So that's definitely feels like what I need to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Grace, beautiful word for really what's coming through, and you being in your own grace, shall we say. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Perfect.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Look, we can all do that sometimes, I think. We come here, and I'll wrap it up, I suppose, on this, because I didn't realize what the time was until now. Sorry about that. I think we all do. We come here, and when we're being conscious souls and we're wanting to grow and we're wanting to develop and we're wanting to improve ourselves and, shall we say, transcend the behaviors or limited patterns of our families or those around us, etc., we can border on going the other extreme, where we are sometimes a bit too hard on ourselves or put these big expectations and actually forget to acknowledge just how far we've come. And some of you will know in client sessions that I'll actually encourage you to take an inventory. Stop for a moment and take a personal inventory about who you are now, not who you were, not even who you were last week, but who you are now. And the way even that sometimes, for example, you might deal with something that maybe 3 or 5 years ago you might have had a rage at, or you might have run away from, or you might have made it into a big drama. And whereas now you realize you're dealing with things in a very different way and in a better way. All of those little things need to be seen by us. I think it's part of that thing of, shall we say, also fueling ourselves for the growth we're still going to keep having. Because I believe in, until we've crossed over, and even then, to be honest, I keep seeing people's past lives and all the growth we're doing, we are going to keep growing. So if we know that, and we can keep bolstering, our sense of self, and that, we are capable and we're getting there, then that's even a better platform to keep launching off for that next lesson that's perhaps coming your way, or that next, even, shall we say, challenge that you're wanting to sort of move through. Thank you, everyone, for tonight. It was so lovely to have all of you. I'm sorry I didn't get around to everybody. If you select to be read for, and I haven't read for you yet, I will endeavour to put you at the top of the list, by the way. Thank you for being you, and thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate having all of your wonderful energies in the mix. And take care. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks, Ian.
Thanks,
Bye.
Ian.
Bye.